So I've been playing around with the Stylophone Gen X-2 this week, and I came up with a few advanced tips I thought you might enjoy. The first of which also works with the original Gen X-1. And that is plugging the output back into the input to create a feedback loop. So this is a headphone splitter. You can plug this into the output. Take one of these outputs here with a stereo cable, plug that back into the auxiliary input, and then monitor one of these connections. A word of warning though, this can get very loud, so maybe don't put your headphones on, perhaps monitor this through an audio interface or a mixer instead. Depending on your settings, it might not feedback straight away. If we turn the resonance down, it will generally start to feedback. Using the LFO, we can create a kick drum kind of loop, and then if we bring the delay into effect as well, that's going to create some really crazy noises. Actually, the delay depth, even when it's turned off, will affect the sound. Because this acts more like a mix between wet and dry effect. So the second tip is something I actually saw on a Starsky car video, so credit to him for this one. By default, as we play the keyboard, the filter will stay in the same place. We can move it around with the LFO and the envelope, but it won't track the keyboard. But if we plug pitch out into filter in on the back, this filter will then move backwards and forwards with this. Opening and closing as we play up and down the keyboard. So in a similar vein, the last tip is drone mode. We can plug gate out into gate in. This won't necessarily trigger every time if we do it like this, but what will guarantee it to work is if we hold a note and then do this, because this is sending a gate output and it's receiving itself, and that sets up feedback, which will continue when we release the stylus. It will then continue to play a slightly flat B, and we can still play it on the keyboard. Every time we release the stylus, it will go back to that B. Of course, we can bring in the LFO and the X mod, use the octave switches and the octave switch on the back, and use the delay. Get some pretty cool drones going on this. This trick sometimes works also if it's just turned back on with the cable still plugged in, but it's not 100%, although today it's going to work every time. So if you want to use this as part of a Eurorack system, this is a decent way to set it up, because it'll act more like a standard analog oscillator within a Eurorack system, in that it's constantly producing a tone and will just change when it accepts pitch input on the back. The envelope is essentially disabled because it's not being re-triggered, so these two controls won't do anything, but the pitch control then kind of acts like a fine tune, enabling you to tune it without having to flip it over. So that about wraps it up. Thank you very much for watching this nice short video. Let me know in the comments if you found this helpful, and I hope you enjoy the Stylophone Gen X-2. Cheers.